The book of Psalms promises us to turn our mourning into dancing. Today, we grapple with how we can find joy in a time of such struggle. Hey, Rabbi Litwack.
Well, hello there, Rabbi David.
How are you?
I am really actually in between. I'm in an in-between state. I
In
am
in between. What do you mean?
in between. I am in an in-between state. We lost a very dear congregant, and sad about that. Sad about what's going on in the world. And yet, I had a really nice Pesach with at least one of my daughters and some friends. And so I'm in a little bit of a liminal state between, oddly enough, today's subject, between some sadness and some joy.
Yeah, I'm there also. I have actually my well, I guess both seders. Both of my sedarim were really enlightening to me. Not so much because of the struggle or the balancing act between joy and mourning, but the balancing act between anger and compassion. I found that there were a number of people at my Seder who were just angry, very few who were able to find compassion within that anger. So I've been thinking a lot about sort of these balancing acts, these struggles. And then when I noticed, of course, that we're now in the Omer, which is, to me, this really strange time of sort of semi-mourning, partial mourning that's dotted with all of these, Yom Ha'atzmaut celebrations and Lag BaOmer celebrations. And then that brought me back to, sorry, I'm droning a little here, but that brought me back to, and I forget where it comes from, the if a wedding party and a funeral procession meet and only one can pass, that you have to let the wedding go first, I think. And so I've been thinking about all of this, and I wanted to just get your take. I wanted to get your perspective on how do we live in that balance? How do we keep that balance between mourning and dancing? Is it okay? I've seen, one of the things I saw was much closer after October 7th was people who were at the Nova Festival saying, "We will dance again," or something like that. And
Oh, I hadn't thought about that, but you're absolutely right.
I mean,
Yeah,
how do you know when it's okay to
right.
dance again? How do you
Yeah.
is there guidance? The quote that I brought before is from Psalm 30. It says, "You hear Shema Adonai v'chaneni, hear Adonai and be gracious to me. Heya ozer li." That's a very, very famous phrase. Adonai, be a help to me. Then it says, "Hafachta mispedili blah 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 blah. Hafachta mispedi lemacholi." You have turned my mourning into dancing, or into a dance
Yeah.
for me. Pitachta
So,
saki. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah. So I think we should back up. I
Okay.
think we should recognize and help people understand what's the Omer. So
Yeah.
we said we're in this period of the Omer, and the and it is the
Sorry.
the move. Okay.
Wait. No.
I
The
hope
reason
nobody was gonna like actually be able to read
No,
that
no, no. The
anymore.
reason I pressed the button is actually because it made me think of something. So I was trying to get back to you quickly. Real quick. Can I
Okay.
just throw this in? Do you
Yeah.
know the only measure of time that is completely made up? The only measure. So that is to say, for example, a year is not made up because it's determined on how long it takes the Earth to travel around the sun.
Okay.
Is that right? Yeah, that's a year,
Yes.
right? Okay, and
Mm-hmm.
a month. So we know because that's how much it takes for to go around the moon, for the moon to go around the Earth, right? So,
Right.
what's the only measure of time that is completely made up?
Well, an hour?
No,
We
because
could
an
call it
hour is based on there are a certain number of hours in the day, and there are
right,
min-
but why don't we divide? Why don't we divide the hour? The number of hours in the day by 10, or why the number the day into 10 parts? Why 24 parts?
Okay, the correct answer is not an hour. The
Okay,
I'm not
thank
good
you,
with
Rabbi
math.
David.
No,
Please
wait.
enlighten us.
What I was thinking of and what I learned, I'm sure there's a good reason why that doesn't make sense, but is a week. A week is not
Okay.
based on any celestial happening at all. It was just God just made it up. And so
Yep.
I thought of that because the way we count the Omer, which is so
Right.
interesting that we don't just say 8 days, 9 days, 10, we say 1 week and 1 day. And in fact, the whole Omer is just, it's not even just counting days, it's counting of weeks. Shavuot, the Feast of
Yes.
Weeks. So, sorry, you made me think of
Yeah.
that. Back to you, Rabbi Litwack.
Hey, thanks for sharing that. Whatever it was that you were sharing. All right. So to Mount Sinai, where we received the Torah. And so, in thinking about our conversation today, I want to suggest something that I learned from Rabbi Sharon Cohen Anisfeld, the president of Hebrew College, who talked about the period of the Omer being from the time not just of the leaving Egypt, but from the first planting to the time of the first harvest, from Egypt to Sinai, from the world of Pharaoh, where there was no law, or the law was Pharaoh, all right, to a world of justice that the Torah summons us to create. And that getting from here to there, right, is uh, what I think we want to talk about when it comes to how do we move from sadness to joy, right?
Right.
Um,
And
Now,
I would just add to that the for me personally, I have a sense of needing permission to make that journey.
so
When
that
it's
was
appropriate
interesting
to make
because
that
the
journey.
first thing that Rabbi Anisfeld said was that journey teaches us three things. And the first thing
For me
is
personally,
when we recognize that here is no longer acceptable,
right.
all right, that we have to say, I want to come out of sadness. All right. I mean, from a historical standpoint, it was when the Hebrews cried out and God heard them. Right, we had enough. Right, so yeah, giving yourself permission to move from sadness to joy.
Yeah.
I think about my own family in Israel who are still waiting for one of their loved ones to come back, and are suffering dearly because of the loss of a mother and a brother, right? And the challenge of some of their family coming out, literally out of um, being kidnapped. And yet, on that first night of Pesach, we received pictures and a video of the family at a restaurant doing a Seder.
Wow.
And I thought, how incredible that is that they gave themselves permission to be a little bit joyful in this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I think about also
Uh,
the. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, Rabbi Anisfeld said that it teaches us two other things. The second thing is that our journey happens one step at a time. Right?
Right.
We look, we don't just say, hey, we're in this 50-day period and we've started it, and then 50 days later we acknowledge it. What do we do? Each and every day we acknowledge the step that we have taken,
Yeah.
and that sadness is not going to, you can't turn it on or turn it off. You can't turn the joy on when you are deeply entrenched in sadness.
I also.
And so we have to, we've got to count each step as we get closer and closer.
It also makes me think about the when sadness turns to anger or frustration, and that one of the reasons why it's a bit tangential, but one of the reasons that I think about for this morning and for the students of Rebbe Akiva students dying is a lack of cohesion, a lack of connection, a lack of compassion for one another, and there's the famous midrash about when the Israelites crossed over the sea, they got to the other side, and the men and the angels are singing and dancing. God, you killed the Egyptians. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And God hushes them and says, "What are you doing? Those are my children too." That
Right?
there's there how what we do with our sadness, what we do with our mourning, our pain, also I think plays into this journey, and are we able to let it go or not, or do we carry it around with us like baggage? Even even sadness and with God, and disappointment with God. How could you let this happen? How could you do this? Which is so often a part of the mourning process, sort of allowing ourselves to be angry with God. I think that, or I wonder, I guess that, you know, can we be like Miriam, and when we are dancing, it's not at someone else's expense. It's not. It's transforming our mourning. It's not celebrating if there is a. I don't want to say what's the term, Rabbi, that they use for Satan? He's the what's that word?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Not the
Job.
destroyer, not the defender,
Well,
um,
yeah, well, I can't remember
the
the word, but
the the opposition
yeah, the
in
opposition, right? Is there, can we, like Miriam, be mournful and joyful without demonizing the if there is an opposition, the other, even if that's God?
um yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I would add to it that I think it's okay for us to give ourselves permission to go, that sadness to joy uh, takes, it's not a straight line,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes turns, and sometimes we think we're coming back, but then we end up going backwards. Hopefully, the long term trajectory is that we're going forward, but sometimes we get angry and we get upset and we get hurt and we uh, go backwards.
And by the way,
As
even when we're going forward, Rabbi, as you said before, the destination matters. Our destination is an uphill climb. It's a mountain.
Sure,
So the
right,
closer we get,
right.
the harder the climb is. Um,
Right.
there's one of my favorite verses of all is the phrase that we say when someone is in mourning, when we greet someone in mourning. Hamakom yinachem etchem. May the one, we usually translate that as may the one who fills all space. Or that's how I often translate. May the one who fills all space
Hmm.
comfort you. What I love about that phrase, though, is that is the word hamakom, because hamakom means the space. And
Hmm.
when you think about where you are, where you find yourself when you're in mourning, you are stuck in just an empty space. There's just nothing. It's empty. It's there's and nothing can fill it. By the way, we really try. We come over during shiva. We bring fruit baskets. We bring cookie trays. We when we talk. We try and fill that emptiness, but none of that actually fills the emptiness. And I think that what draws me to that phrase or that greeting is it's an acknowledgement that even God, whose very name is Hamakom, cannot fill that emptiness. That the journey of mourning is for the emptiness itself to become a source of comfort. So that we can go through our lives, that this journey that you've been talking about, and recognize that, you know what, there are going to be times when we're up here feeling great, and then we're going to go back into the mourning, and it's okay. It's okay to go back into that mourning as long as we know that we can come back out, right? That you never get past it. You're just in and out of it.
That's so interesting because I take that phrase slightly differently, and I absolutely resonate with the idea that we feel the emptiness, but rather it's not that even God is, I can't fill that space. I say that in that emptiness, right, there is hamakom, right, that God is in that space. We just may not be able to acknowledge it, but God is there,
Yeah.
holding you up and supporting you, and taking care of you, even if you don't feel it in the moment.
That's the
I
poem. That's the footprints poem, right? Right when, do you know
Yes,
that? Yeah,
yes,
right when I thought you had left
yes, of
me, there
course.
was only one set of footprints. It's then that you were carrying me.
That's right. That's exactly it. I also think it kind of spurred me to think that um, God's presence is always there. Okay? And this is the last thing that Rabbi Anisfeld taught, that the journey out of Egypt, okay, is not an ancient memory. Okay? It's something we have a possibility for redemption, and in this case, renewal, renewed life at all times, because God is ever present. um, waiting there for us, or supporting us or helping us as we go through that process.
Hmm. Beautiful. A lot to process this Pesach and these Omer these days.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this year was a weighty. It wasn't all joyful,
Yeah.
but it was deep and very real, and for me, particularly moving because um, we gathered around our Seder table and we together worked through some of that.
Wow.
We talked about the anger and the disappointment and the emptiness and the hurt and the fear that we're feeling now. And to have others around you, and even when we don't have others around you, to feel like God is there, that for me is a way of moving me from on that journey that we take during the Omer from sadness to joy.
That's lovely. Amen. Thank you, sir.
Amen.
Have a
Wow.
meaningful
Thanks a
rest of
lot.
Pesach, and we'll see everyone on the other side.
Enjoy your matzah,
Enjoy your
and
matzah.
see. There you go. Bye, everybody.
Take care.